Modblock. Hello, dear viewer. How have you been? Good, I hope. I'm doing great. However, I've been experiencing something rather unpleasant. Obviously, I'm talking about paying taxes. But besides that, I'm also talking about Minecraft. Specifically, modded Minecraft. Now, I don't think anybody under the age of 30 isn't at least aware of Minecraft. You know the one, the game with all the blocks that practically was the backbone of YouTube for at least, I don't know, 3-4 years. Minecraft has been around longer than the sun practically, but what about modded Minecraft? Modded Minecraft. Some might know what it is, and by some I obviously mean at least 500 million people probably. For the sake of the structure of this script I am writing while intoxicated, let me explain what a mod is. Either the greatest feat of solo development you have ever seen, or the worst possible idea put into a game. There is no in between. The mod is either excellent and an exceptional addition to the game, or the most malignant and hostile cancer voluntarily added to the mix in order to poison the entire well. I jest, of course, only slightly in truth, but what makes modded Minecraft stand out? Plenty of other games have mods, most prominently Bethesda games, and whether it's because Bethesda games are truly that bad that people deem it their duty to fix them, or because the game engine is so simple and so old that experienced modders see it as the junker car you keep bringing into the mechanic shop. Come on, bro. Rebuilding the engine isn't gonna save it. Just let it go, bro. That Miata isn't worth it. Modded Minecraft has always been at the hip of vanilla or normal Minecraft, and I think that is why it's so popular. Also, the gazillion of players that play Minecraft also helps as well, I guess. Anyway, imagine, not talking about John Lennon, that you are 10 years old and you have no idea how anything in the world works, and you have just been traumatized by the animatronic known as Freddy Fazbear from Freddy's Pizzeria or whatever it's called, Domino's. Anyway, you're a little kid on YouTube around 2013, 2014, and you see for the first time modded Minecraft. Your tiny brain is literally shattered. How come you've been playing the version of Minecraft on the Xbox 360 with the standard weapons, the standard blocks, and only 3 dimensions? You know what I'm talking about. We all did the glowstone portal in hopes that it would lead to the Aether, and we all remember the immense sadness and confusion when it didn't happen. That event happened to me. I remember that was the first time in my life where the spark of ambition was lit. I later went on to start an international drug empire and die in a brutal shootout. Wait a minute, hold on. I think I'm mixing up scripts again. Ultimately, I was never able to play the Aether mod, and it wasn't until 7 years later when I began to understand the concept of modding games. Flash forward 3 decades later, off-world in a mining colony with replicants, and I finally get around to playing modded Minecraft. This is what this video is about, dear viewer. My experience with my very first mod pack, and spoilers, it ends in tragedy, like so many tales throughout human history. Where to begin? Installation. Believe it or not, it does not take a master's degree in computer science to mod Minecraft. It does, however, require a Skynet supercomputer for mod packs. I was able to install a mod pack with over 400 mods included within it. Prominence 2. But that mod pack ran like dog shit, frankly. Now, before I go any further, I have absolutely zero experience modding anything, and I have never written a line of code in my life, and I hope it stays that way. The people that do this are more talented than me. They get more bitches than me, they stack more paper than me, they have better clothes, better cars, better houses, more power, and so on and so forth. So I really can't explain to you why the mod pack ran the way it did, because that would be like giving a keynote about rockets or something when you have nothing to do with those rockets. But you want people to think that you had something to do with those rockets because you really like rockets, and you want people to think that you're very smart and very capable and very rich. Anyway, the mod pack ran very poorly in my experience. I have a decent computer, but I will admit that my CPU is 4 years old and might be a limiting factor. My bad, guys. I'll upgrade to quantum computing after I steal it from the closest government research facility. So the mod pack ran like shit, so what? What about the mods themselves? Good question. But to answer that, I have to explain that interesting situation known as mod packs. Have you ever made multiple meals? Think Thanksgiving. You make a macaroni dish, potatoes, shout out to Samwise, turkey, ham, pie, the works. Now in Thanksgiving, you would get a little bit of everything, and it works because it's usually meat plates and vegetables, that sort of thing. To quote a goat, it just works. Now think Thanksgiving, but in a household that is inhabited by crazy people. They make sushi dishes, stews, pastas, vegan options, meat options, no other options. So the same thing happens. You get a little bit of everything, and individually, it's good. But have you ever had sushi with lamb chops? The flavors clash and don't work together because they are too complicated to work together. Instead of keeping it simple like meat and vegetables, The mod pack adds intricate and deep mods alongside each other, creating a clash and conflict that negatively impacts the final impression. Theoretically, in the perfect mod pack, it would guide you along in a sort of stepladder sort of deal, from simpler mods included in the pack to more complex, until ultimately reaching the climax dictated by the mod pack author. What Prominence 2 does that so many other mod packs do is throw the baby in with the bathwater, or whatever the expression is, and create a hodgepodge of ideas and concepts that not only overwhelms the player, but also detracts from the individual mods included. But wait a minute, why the hell are you complaining about this silly little modded block game as if it were a AAA game, you loser? You're right, I'm wrong. Why am I complaining? I should be happy with excess. I should be content with the plethora of content at my disposal, ecstatic about the fact that I have hundreds of hours of content at my fingertips. But just like what happened to Antonio Montana, greed kills. What about the second problem? You mean the giant shark in the pool? No, I'm talking about modded Minecraft. The second problem, and the biggest problem, is the content within the mod pack themselves. Now, let me reiterate that I, Esteban Julio Ricardo Montoya de la Rosa Ramirez III, heir to the throne of Spain and second in line to the Russian dukedom, have no experience in coding and or other software wizardry manipulation that leads to the creation of Minecraft modded content. However, I will express my First Amendment right and proceed to express my opinions and or other thoughts, and whether they are trash is my problem. So, Prominence 2 is one of those mod packs of all time. There's the main storyline, which gives you the juicy lore and contracts you to become a multi-dimensional hitman sort of thing. This happened to my buddy Eric once, who I used to know before the tentacle monster got him. I miss Eric. And there's also like a bunch of other quests included, but they're basically the quests that must have come with the individual mods or something, because there's sometimes overlap with those side quests and the main quest line. So what's the problem? The problem is the quests are boring. They put me to sleep and require me to grind other mods that have ridiculous conditions to be met in order to get stronger. And stronger you will need to be, because these mods, who shall not be named out of fear of retaliation, I am under FBI protection and I am risking my safety to inform you, have some of the most ridiculous designs I've ever seen. The bosses in the main questline, Void's Invasion, are extremely strong and hit like trucks, culminating in the end of my playthrough because I got to the Forgotten Champion, or whatever Bob's name was, and he had 1,000 health. Now, I'll get to what happened later, but I wasn't creative and I still couldn't kill him, even while nuking him. Literal nukes. I couldn't kill him, so something was going on. Did I get filtered in a game meant for babies? Yes, but you got filtered in Elden Ring. Don't even lie to me. The mod author's whims of these boss mods created an unenjoyable situation that affected other more enjoyable mods. But also take a shot every time I say mod or mod pack. I'm such a lousy writer, I'll be committing involuntary manslaughter on a mass scale. Anyway, what's the mod that committed the biggest sin? The mod that made me pull my hair out and crash out, leading me to live a life with wild animals in the swamps? The reforging mechanic, or mod, or whatever. I can't speak English. What this mechanic does is give crafted tools like diamond pickaxes, for example, a modded... Oh my gosh. What this mechanic does is give crafted tools like diamond pickaxes, for example, a random stat modifier based on the classic battle royale formula. Have you played Fortnite? From gray to gold, you know how it works. You probably play Fortnite. Once Chung-Li farted in my med mist. The problem with this is that on swords and even axes to some extent, it's understandable and could make for an interesting mechanic to make the game feel more roguelike in nature, I suppose. Although every time I hear the words action roguelike, my bowels start to boil until ultimately bursting all over the room. However, when this same mechanic is applied to functional tools like pickaxes and shovels, it becomes an infuriating system. I wasted 3 diamonds on a pickaxe and get something that mines slower than iron and has less reach, and the same applies to armor. So crafting diamond armor in this mod pack is like investing in a stock that your finance bro assured you will only go up, only for you to lose the entire mortgage. I don't need the stock market to lose everything. I do it like a real man. Gambling in riverboat casinos and dick enhancement pills. There might be more instances of questionable game design, but I wouldn't know. Wanna know why? Because in my original playthrough, I quit! I played the mod pack normally, following the questline, going through the different dungeons that were added to the world with the other mods to level up, fighting the bosses, building on my base, the usual. Until I stumbled upon the mod that reworks the enchantment system. I don't recall the name of the mod, and truthfully, I don't want to know because it made me so angry. I try to avoid things that make me angry because I'm just a chill guy that a lot of people, I'm the popular loner. Anyway, you either get 15 pufferfish or 15 gas tears over breaking your kneecaps. Both of these are horrible, and after about an hour of fishing and only getting 5 pufferfish, I could see that what was waiting for me on the horizon, and I just quit. I'm a quitter, I know. And this gnawed at me, haunting my dreams, giving me nightmares. Knowing I quit and knowing I failed at what I wanted to achieve gave me the energy to decide to do it again. No Steely Dan. Only this time, I would do it using the help of cheats, of creative. So I give myself the best possible gear, the best sword possible to a certain extent. I don't want to become too powerful. I still wanted to engage in the content at my disposal, but in a sort of way where you do cocaine but refrain from heroin or alcohol because you heard it could be bad for you, And this went great. Honestly, every bit of what I deemed bullshit was met with the use of creative. I still fought the bosses in survival and enjoyed some of the ones I fought, but there was a problem. I never figured out how to give myself the experience points you needed to level up in the skill tree that is Prominence 2's Piece de Resistance. I love the French, great bread. So what ended up happening was me and creative with amazing gear, unable to kill the bosses because I was unwilling to grind for levels, and I had grown tired of the frankly lazy quest. These quests are just bounty targets that are somehow, someway tampered with. I don't know the truth now, but when I do, there will be hell to pay, regardless of what the captain has to say about it. So after that debacle, I called it quits for real this time. I just wasn't interested in what the mod pack had to offer anymore. This was about 25 hours anyway, so I think I got the gist of it. So here we are, the final point in this pointless trivial mess that is my experience with mods. However, this goes past mods and back into the fundamentals of Minecraft. And this is my realization that Minecraft, believe it or not, is at the end of the day, a building game. Building, that part that everybody thinks they're bad at and don't really want to do because they see the Bernini level of buildings that people are making on YouTube or whichever social media. I've discovered that if you simply don't care how it looks and just stick to what you want it to have, the build comes out decent enough. There's also a life hack of stairs, fences, trapdoors that really go a long way. Just like that knife I always have taped to my scrotum. You never know when an emergency is gonna occur. Anyway, Minecraft is a building game and that's the best part of it. The exploration is also good because you get to see unique lands almost every time you load up a new world, and that's good too. But what these mod packs do, and particularly this one, is that they focus on the thing that is weakest in Minecraft: combat and combat mechanics. I'm about to get technical, so lean in and lock in. In Minecraft, there's something I like to call layered progression. Like layers in a cake, there's a bottom layer and a top layer. In this analogy, wooden tools and leather are at the bottom for durability and protection, while obviously diamonds and netherite are at the top. In this layered system, you go up a layer almost immediately with the acquisition of stone tools. You skip leather all entirely because why would you? And once you have stone, you almost immediately jump to iron tools. Not as fast as wood to stone, but still rapidly. So in reality, Minecraft's progression is having iron gear and acquiring diamond or netherite. Enchanting is also part of the combat system to some degree, but most enchants are for the combat related tools and armor. However, it is never worth enchanting iron tools because you want to wait and use those level 30 enchants on a diamond tool that is going to be worthwhile. Obviously except for a hoe or something, I don't know. Long story short, the combat system in Minecraft is flawed, like we as people are. Except unlike Minecraft, most of us aren't extremely profitable and aren't being changed with new software being injected into us. Oh, aren't we? Could be a Matrix situation for all I know. Anyway, the system is flawed and the same thing happens with mods. You start at iron or the iron equivalent in whichever mod and work your way to the top, whatever that may be. Some mods address this, I know, but not this particular mod pack. That's it, those are my grievances. The Declaration of Independence was written using AI. My source? George, watch a ton of Netflix. My experience with modern Minecraft was horrible, and I am to blame. My 10-year-old self would be absolutely devastated, but realistically, would have moved on very quickly. I should have done more research and pick individual mods instead of diving into the ocean right away. I will not be using mods because I've grown to like Minecraft for what it is and don't think it's necessary to add anything to enjoy this silly little block game. However, I will admit that Better Nether and various bio mods are very good, and that out of all the mods, those would probably be the ones I would try again. Once again, I'm not knocking anyone for playing with mods, I'm just a little guy on the screen. You could probably beat me up, and your dad could probably beat me up, so don't let me stop you. Anyway, I've been your host, He Shaved His Head, and as always, goodbye.